You're now watching the Good, Bad, and Ugly podcast featuring Kevin Funk, John Downs, and Reese Jans. All right, Good, Bad, and Ugly Week 12, another Tuesday. As always, I'm here with JD and Reese. How we doing, guys?
How we doing?
Doing good, KB. Slick new little intro there.
Right,
I love it.
right. Hopefully it translates well to the video. But
yeah,
weekend in review, Thanksgiving weekend. We saw an absolute classic to kind of start the weekend in Dallas at the middle game on Thursday on Thanksgiving. Got a ton of toilet bowls this weekend to talk about, too. Detroit, in Houston, and in Jacksonville. But mainly the playoff pictures continuing to take shape. Both conferences, the wildcard races are heating up. We're going to talk about a familiar face to get started today, surging in the AFC. Did anyone see that coming? I don't know. We'll get into that. And then we're going to talk about a couple familiar faces dropping in the NFC now. A lot worse at this point in the season than we thought they'd be a few weeks ago. We're gonna mention those in bads and uglies this week. So really good content for today's show. But I want to talk a little bit about a new show we're coming up with on Saturday. We're gonna get to cover a bunch of different sports on Saturday. This weekend's show is mainly going to be covering MLB free agency, college football bowl games, and then the championships that'll be coming up in the playoff. And just everything else that we can't talk about here in regards to the NFL. And we'll throw in sprinkles of basketball and hockey and everything else under the sun when the right opportunity presents itself. It's going to be called GBU After Hours. You're going to see some new voices, some new faces on it. It's a show that we could bring other people into that aren't typically on here. The three of us will still be on it for the most part. You know, maybe we miss one here and there if we can't do it. But you're going to see new people, new faces. It'll be a refreshing, more relaxed type of show where we cover a lot more. We could bring people in if they have questions. I know a lot of people have been asking me for just quick little slots. They want to talk about their team on it, friends of mine. And we'll be able to welcome that in and introduce that type style to the show. And we're going to start that this Saturday. It'll all be incorporated under the same social medias, so nothing new in that regard. But new show, we're excited for it. And I've said enough here. JD, I'm going to let you take over the floor here for your first good to get us started today.
Sure. Before we start, KB, too, I want to say, like, the Saturday show is a good opportunity because it's just, I mean, there was so much to talk about in baseball, and then we can even go deeper into, like, some NFL stuff, like the playoff picture and how we think it's going to play out, stuff we wouldn't usually do in our show today and then our video on Thursday. So it's a good opportunity for us to not only go into some other stuff, but to go deeper into the NFL, which we know we love talking about.
Yeah, also, just before you get into your good, I wanted to just say one more thing. The baseball and really other sports aside from the NFL is definitely going to be more of a local focus, not restricted to the teams that we see locally. But baseball, you're going to see a lot of Mets and Yankees, mostly Mets and Yankees. Free agency, we'll talk about other teams. But once, the season gets going, we'll have a baseball. Baseball might replace Tuesday's show. We'll see what happens with that. But you're going to have a local focus in the other sports aside from football. Football, we'll continue to talk about all the teams like we do here. But I'm excited to talk about, things that aren't in the good, bad, and ugly, and not our picks for the weekend. We'll be able to talk about so many other things that we try to talk about here and then have to kind of restrict ourselves from doing. So I'm excited for that. Much less of a notes-based show and a lot more of just debating. We're going to get into some arguments that are always fun for us, and just a ton of other stuff. But JD, I'll send it back over to you for today's show.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But with that being said, the first good I have this week's been a team who's generally been talked about highly of on this show because ever since we started doing it, they haven't lost a game. That's the New England Patriots. They have their sixth straight win, and they just continue to rake in victories. They're undefeated on the road. They have lost a lot of home games, but they're starting to turn that around. They had that slow start, but Mac Jones is awesome. He's accurate. Looks like, it's way too early to tell whether he's the best quarterback in last year's class. There's a lot of stuff we can't really evaluate. Trevor Lawrence, we don't really know how to see him. Zach Wilson, we know, we've been watching him every week. Trey Lance hasn't played. Justin Fields has showed glimpses, but Mac Jones has been the really, really polished quarterback to come out of the class, and that's, like I said, he's not going to be the best. He may not be the best, but 23 of 32, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was efficient. The offense continues to get contributions from people who you wouldn't really hear of most of the time. Kendrick Bourne had a great touchdown. They're splitting carries between Damian Harris and Stevenson, so they keep rushing. I mean, their run D had a pretty off day because the Titans did run all over them, but Tannehill was stifled by Belichick because he only had 93 yards. He threw a pick, and the Titans are rough to watch. So this is the Patriots are in the good this week, but it's by far not their best win. The Titans have been a tough team to watch recently. They lost their top 2 receivers. They lost their running back, so it's not the greatest win for New England. But I did think they would keep it close, and they are the 1 team in the AFC after all that. So to me, the Patriots have a real good 6 wins against some teams like the Jets and Falcons, but still, you got to win. And they have a massive game on Monday Night Football this week in Buffalo, which will determine down the road a lot of playoff seeding, division winners, because the Patriots are on a fast track for the 1 seed right now. They're trailing just Baltimore, but they have a few tough games, but they do have a bye week next week. So huge game Monday night, and then they get to rest up and then gear up for the stretch run. So the Patriots are in a good spot. You got to be feeling good if you're a Pats fan.
Yeah, and as much as I hate to say it, the Pats are so good. They're so back. They've haunted me and KB's Jets for as long as we can remember, but they're such a hard team to hate. They go out there, they get the job done, and they do it well. And there's guys that Bill Belichick gets, like Kendrick Bourne. He's solid, but he goes to the Pats, and now he's starting to shine. And I saw a little locker room clip. He called him KB, and it made me think of the show. But,
Disrespect.
I love what the Pats are doing, even though Bill Belichick's trying to steal our guy's name here with Kendrick Bourne. But I love the Pats. I think they're going to take the first seed in the AFC.
You know, it's fitting for this weekend for me to talk about this because something I always loved for Parcells and Belichick was they always said by Thanksgiving you got to be playing your best football. You have to be ready for a Super Bowl game by Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and this team blows out. You know, they absolutely handled the Titans. I don't care who's out for Tennessee. They absolutely handled the Titans this weekend. I think that if I was an NFL coach right now or an NFL player, this is the last team I want to see lined up on the other side of the field. You cannot beat this defense. It's Belichick's defense.
Yeah.
He's putting on his masterclass right now. The players are great on it. Matthew Judon has totally transformed the middle of their defense, too. Christian Barmore is great from Alabama. He disrupts every play, and he's only a rookie. They totally hit this draft out of the park. Mac Jones doesn't lose him any games. I think that if this AFC runs through Foxborough, it's going to be really tough to get a win against this team. And the rest of the year, they got a couple tough games that are going to show them tests. But if they win those, there should be no lack of confidence, and I don't have one right now with New England.
Let's see a Pats Bucs Super Bowl.
No. Just kill me if that happens. If we have to talk about that game for 2 weeks, I mean, just blow a bullet in my head. I can't do that.
I don't know. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say that's lining up to be that right now.
God, please, no.
Because you remember how bad that regular season game hype was?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah,
that
never
was
stopped
for
hearing
a
about
Sunday
it.
night game in week 4.
Yeah.
They were bringing it in
They
Adele.
trademarked Adele's song for that.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
I can't do that.
No. Well, for good on that, I'm going to be moving on to the Buccaneers right now.
Go for it.
So, yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. But Bucs beat the Colts this week, 38-31 in Indianapolis. Bucs are 8-3 now. Colts are 6-6. But Colts played a really good game. They could have landed a near good for this week for a loss. It's one of those that you almost get a good for a loss. They just missed it though. Bucs are back. I think their defense got 5 turnovers against Indianapolis, and they held Taylor to pretty much the least amount of yards and production you're going to hold him to. He had 84 and a touchdown, 84 and a touchdown. And Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski is totally back. The defense looked really good, so they showed that they don't need Brady and high-powered offense, high-powered passing game to win. And that I think it was ESPN said, someone on ESPN after the game said, when the Buccaneers don't need Tom Brady to win games, they're the best team in the league. And I agree. Fournette, 24 touches for 131 yards and 4 touchdowns is an absurd day against a really good Indianapolis defense, run defense especially, a really tough front seven there. And Fournette was all over him. We saw in the playoffs last year that the Buccaneers have one of the best run games in the league when they want to run it. And then Ronald Jones got into the end zone. They're this team is so stacked, and you're going to see me rave about them later on in the power rankings too. If AB comes back, they start to complete the offense again. AB's their best receiver, in my opinion. He's Brady's favorite guy on the offense. So this team, I think the Bucs are better than they were last year, and they won the Super Bowl last year. But I also think a couple other teams in the NFC are better than they were last year. So the Bucs, really encouraging win. I'm starting to fall in love with the Colts too from this game. That's not a takeaway from this. Whatever you guys got on this, take it away.
Yeah, I think that the Bucs, if they're playing like they were on Sunday and they keep playing that way, that team can beat you in any facet of the game. They're solid everywhere, and if they're able to do that and play their best football, they're due for a deep playoff run. I think they'll match up with the Packers at some point. Yeah. I'm excited to see that.
I'm horrified.
I think the Packers
you look
got
like
it
absolutely
year,
mortified.
Yeah.
Well, this is getting
getting sick to his stomach. All right, JD, take it away.
Yeah. The Bucs, I feel like, are at that point where they were after their bye week last year. Remember, they just went on like a 6-game winning streak, closed it out, didn't lose the game. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but it seems like they've found their rhythm again.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're going to be foot on the gas the last 5-6 weeks we got left here.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll lose the game because I don't know who they play. I'm sure they have a tough game in there somewhere, but I'm worried that. I really am worried about the Bucs because they're a very good football team. They're finding their groove like they did last year, and if they don't have to come to Lambeau and we have to go there, I hate our chances, and I still don't want to see them even in Lambeau because we know. I have PTSD from last year. So the better this team gets, the more worried I get that we have to get home field advantage to come out of the NFC. But I really am scared that the Bucs are coming out of the NFC. And they probably will play the Packers in the NFC Championship game. But I will touch on the Colts, who, like you said, KB, they're kind of winning me over. Because even though they lost, it seemed like at halftime, I was like, I don't know, me and Reese picked the Colts. I don't know if you picked the Colts, KB, or I don't know who picked the Colts. But I don't
think anybody did, but they were deserving of a choice today in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, the Colts got this at halftime. It was like, you just got a foot on the gas, Jonathan Taylor, don't turn the ball over, and then they had the fumble the first drive. Carson Wentz picked the second drive, and then it kind of just spiraled out of control from there. They couldn't really stop him on defense. But I still think they get in the back end of the AFC, and then, we're going to talk about more of the AFC teams later. It's a mess down there.
Yeah, I
just want to 6-win, 5-win teams.
Real quick, run through the Bucs schedule for the sake of the argument.
Yeah.
So they got 6 games left. At Atlanta, home against Buffalo, home against the Saints, at Carolina, at Jets, home against Carolina. So not the hardest.
So they're winning out.
They're going to probably
their last 3. They're
Buffalo's
winning out.
a tough one. Saints will be tough, but they'll win it. Saints are too banged up with no quarterback.
I'll take the Saints.
So they could really go 6-0 to end the season here, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's the NFL. We have no idea what happens on a week-to-week basis, so you never know when the Bucs can lay a stinker. But the way they're playing, if they play like they did Sunday, they'll probably win out those games.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyone else?
No, we'll move on.
Move on. All right, so my good of the week is someone who me and JD were on all week. We loved Miami against the Panthers. Miami came out, set the tone early. They were hitting in every aspect. They started the game with a blocked punt for a touchdown. I don't even know how to word this correctly, but the Dolphins limited the Carolina passing game because P.J. Walker, Cam was so bad that he got taken out.
Yeah.
So P.J. Walker came in. They held him for 10 for 31 with 180 yards and 3 picks. Dolphins defense came, showed out like they have been in the past couple weeks. The D-end, Emmanuel Ogbah, has 7 consecutive games with a deflected pass. When you have guys making plays like that, that's just it's going to win you some games. And I'm pretty sure, I feel like he caused one of those turnovers. If not, I'm mistaken, but I feel like he did. And on offense, Tua came out, went 27 for 31. Jalen Waddle had 100 yards and a touchdown. 137 yards and a touchdown. And to kind of fade away from Miami a little bit and talk about the Panthers, they are done. CMC's out for the season.
Panthers are dead.
Cam stinks. They got to wrap that season up, move on to next year. Honestly, they're not going to lose out on purpose, but you got to get a better draft pick because Darnold was a mistake. Cam is looking like a mistake, and CMC's been out the last 2 years with injuries, so Panthers are shaking in their boots.
Give up your second for Darnold, too. They have no second-round pick, Panthers. But Miami, Tua is looking really good this year. This whole season, looking like taking the jump in the second year. They got to trust him. You got to have confidence in him, because when they let him run the offense, when they let him throw, he's been as good, not as good as any quarterback, but he's been as good as those middle-of-the-pack guys that no one doubts whether they're the quarterback for their team or not. He's in that 12 to 18 range of quarterbacks where, he's the franchise guy. Is he great? No, but build around him. So he's got to stop getting the slander. And also, Reese, you were touching on it, this defense is really good. This was the defense that won them 10 games last year. And they got an easy schedule coming up the rest of the year. They're tough. They got a tough game in week 18 against New England, but before that, it's Giants, Jets, Saints, Titans. That's 4 very winnable games to get you positive if you want to try to make a run at one of those wild card spots at that 7 seed. It's not it doesn't take a miracle to get in there. I think the Dolphins have been really good, and like you said last pick, it pains me to say that because the Jets constantly fall behind everyone in the AFC East, but Dolphins look great.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on KB, their schedule, because the Dolphins are a team that really looks like they want to make a run at this thing. Based on the teams ahead of them, I mean, I know they're only like a game and a half out, but there are so many teams they got to jump. It looks unlikely, even if they do win the next 2, they're going to get back to 500. There's a lot of teams fighting for those spots, so I don't think they get in.
Yep.
But you got to like the way the Dolphins are finishing their season after that 2-7 start, because they look dead. Tua looked dead, and people were so quick to bail on him. He just played his 16th game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And his stats, I don't have the exact stats for what they were, but they were pretty good stats for a first-year quarterback.
Solid.
Because a lot of legends like Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman, like those guys had horrible first years. And now and today, it feels like with Twitter and everything, like the memes and everything, it seems like people are more ready to bail on Tua after some starts that maybe he looks a little bit questionable. Same with every rookie quarterback now.
Yeah.
You got to give him more than a year. These guys, they take time to develop. Not all quarterbacks are great just from the moment they step on the field, like Patrick Mahomes. I like where the Dolphins are going. They don't have their first-round pick because it's to Philly, but, I mean, Jalen Waddle seems to be worth it right now. He's a playmaker. He's Tua's go-to guy. He was Brissett's go-to guy. And then from there, I mean, they got stuff to build on. They have a good coach who we think's a good coach. I know it was a lot of question in the beginning of the season, but the Dolphins seem to be heading in the right direction, as opposed to the Panthers, who are completely dead. Cam is dead. He had that one where he ran to center midfield. They lost that game. He got hung out to dry Sunday. They got killed Sunday. CMC, who knows if he plays another snap for the Panthers. Dante Jackson's out for the year. Matt Rule's probably going to go running back to college. So, the Panthers are pretty much dead. Yeah,
and just to touch on the Dolphins, they got to hit on some draft picks, man. Because this team is good. We've seen it 2 years in a row now. Erased their 2-7 start. It was a bad start, but they figured it out clearly. Mm-hmm. Their last few drafts they have the worst draft in the league. Every year, they end up with the worst draft in the league.
They had a lot of picks, first-round picks recently.
They had a lot of first-round picks because of the Tunsil trade and the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. They turned it into nothing. They drafted guys like Austin Jackson, who was a left tackle at USC, who was terrible at USC. Like, second round, physically, he was great. Second-round player, though. They drafted Noah Igbenogany, the corner from Penn State, who stinks. And they went out immediately and signed Byron Jones, and so he doesn't even play. Those 2 guys that don't even play that you got with those picks. You passed on Jonathan Taylor. You passed on DeAndre Swift in that draft. They got to hit on some draft picks, man. Waddle looks like a hit, but my God, if this team could draft, they'd be right there with Buffalo and New England in the lead for the division, I think. So this is a big offseason for them. They got to figure some stuff out, especially on the offensive line. Their offensive line is so bad. It's absolutely abysmal, their offensive line. Figure out the offensive line. Myles Gaskins looked pretty solid the last few weeks, too. He's getting in the end zone. He's finding his way into the end zone, getting 80 to 100 yards a game, all-purpose. He's looking pretty solid, but you don't pass Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift for Myles Gaskin. He's third down back. He's TJ Yeldon in Jacksonville at his best. Come on. But that's all I got for Miami this week.
Yeah, May I just say that the Jets find themselves with a sturdy 4th place in the
Whoa.
AFC East for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We're looking juicy
As
at that spot.
expected.
All right.
All right.
Let's talk about some bad football. The first bad team is a really, really bad team, and a really, really big mystery is the Chargers. Along with the Broncos, who are also a mystery, we won't talk about them. This game, I don't know what this game was. I don't know what the Chargers are, and what is Justin Herbert? Because one week we'll be pumping air in his tires, hyping him up, saying he's a top 5 quarterback, and then the next week he does this. He throws a pick 6 to 13. He threw 2 picks. The offense couldn't get anything going in the first half until their last possession. Obviously, we know Herbert's going to be great. He's going to be a great quarterback, and the Chargers have a lot of talent on this team. But Eckler had 12 carries for 31 yards. That's just not enough. That's not enough. Brandon Staley was the golden child of the offseason, the golden head coach hiring, and he's a mystery. And the Chargers are hanging on for dear life. And shades of last year, their inconsistency is probably going to cost them a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think they're the 7th seed right now, right?
Yeah,
And that's just not acceptable for the amount of talent that they have. They find themselves in either a good, bad, or ugly every single week.
Every week. We talk about the Chargers every
There's no
week.
consecutive week that they're either both
Nope.
good. So this week, they'll put in a great game. They'll put in a great win this week. And we'll talk about them next week. Oh, it looks like they're starting to figure it out. They got the ball to Eckler. They got it to everyone else a lot. And the defense got a couple turnovers. And then the week after that, they'll shit the bed and they'll suck, and we'll talk about them in the ugly again. It's just a cycle that's going on with the Chargers way too much. There's too much talent for this team to not be winning. But I do want to say, Broncos are starting to earn some respect because they're a team they're one of those teams that you cannot come into a game sleeping. But they're not a team that's great. If you come ready, you're going to beat them. But if you come the slightest bit not ready, they're going to punch you in the face. They don't turn the ball over. They run the ball really well. They're a tough football team.
Knowing how well they played Sunday, you can only expect in Broncos faction that they'll get killed on Sunday Night Football by the Chiefs. They're going to get destroyed. And then it's going to be like, oh, the Broncos are just there at 6-6 in the playoff run, and then next week they'll win, and then they'll probably lose.
Yep.
That's just how the Broncos, that's just how it seems to be going. I don't know with them. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right. Back to the Chargers. One of our friends, diehard Chargers fan, Drew, I'm sorry, but this team gets on my fucking nerves. Yeah. I mean, I tried to be confident. I'm like, I'm going to take the Chargers money line this week. It was one of my bets. I mean, these guys stink. You're facing Drew Lock. You're not even facing Teddy Two Gloves. You're facing Drew Lock. You have to beat the Broncos. I mean, it's a divisional game. You're in the playoff hunt. They stink. I hate the Chargers right now. They're inconsistent. They don't show any signs of positivity. You have Justin Herbert. You have Austin Eckler. You have Keenan Allen. You have Mike Williams. You have Jared Cook. Win a football game.
Yeah.
This Broncos team is proven to be very beatable, especially by a team with that caliber of talent. They're horrible.
Yeah, I mean, we all had Chargers money line. I mean, just put that aside. Like, I don't give a fuck about my Chargers. But I had a great Sunday. We had a great Sunday. But every time I looked over to the left at that Chargers game while we were watching the Packers game, it was just like, why would anyone voluntarily watch this game? It's terrible. And I'm sorry for Chargers fans. There's not many of you. But I'm sorry because this is just it's a spinning image of last year. They're not losing with much heartbreak, but their inconsistency is going to cost them a playoff spot. And some dumb coaching decisions. There wasn't much to go there on Sunday because they got pretty much worked for 4 quarters by the Broncos. But they're gonna. I don't think they're in a playoff spot right now. But if they keep doing this, one week they're great, one week they're bad. I mean, I don't think they're making the playoffs. There's a lot of teams fighting in the AFC.
It's also absolutely tragic to me. I talk about it every single week. You're home fans. You don't even have fans at home, and you're building a really good young team
that's
here
another
that's
issue.
trying to make a playoff spot. You go home, it's not even like, oh, yeah, we got a home game, thank God. They're winning. They're trying to win on the road every single week.
Every week.
Yeah, they play 16 away
every week.
It's absurd. It's so
they're
sad.
trying to go.
It's so
they're trying to go on the road.
Honestly, during that Steelers game, KB, I knew it was going to be bad. But, dude,
oh
I didn't know it was going to be that bad.
It had to have been a 70-30
it was the
ratio
Steelers.
of
it was at
Steelers
least 70.
The Steelers to Chargers fans. They should never move that to San Diego. I'm convinced they'll never win anything. Like, they will never win a single game.
They may not.
They have
may
so
not.
much
They're
talent.
Like the Jets.
And how many times have they been the most talented team in the league with Phillip Rivers?
They can't put it together.
This team's never going to win anything. And they're never going to. They had Schottenheimer was a great coach. He couldn't win a game. He couldn't win a playoff game. And they had the best offense in the NFL for 10 years, from the late 70s to the mid 80s, late 80s, with Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow. And now, fast forward 20 years, they got Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, Vincent Jackson. They got everybody. Fast forward another 10 years, they have Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Eckler. This team can't win a game. This franchise is absolutely cursed.
This offense is
you guys got great uniforms.
They have the best uniforms in the league. That's the trade-off. That's the trade-off.
They look the best while losing.
They sold their soul for it.
This offense is just way too good to be this inconsistent. Like, Austin Eckler is like one of the top. He's not a top 5 running back because they don't use him like they should.
They don't use him properly at all.
If they kept feeding him like they should, he wouldn't have 31 yards on the ground. You wouldn't be dropping Herbert back 40 times a game, hanging him out to dry. You got to run the ball, and it's going to be the same team for another theme and my ugly that we're going to get to later.
And we don't even, with the Chargers, it's not even the Rex Ryan dilemma of the defense is great, but he won't focus on the offense. The defense is not good. This defense is not very good.
Their defense is the worst.
I mean, I could run for 75 yards on this defense.
Yeah. And they have what on paper looks like to be a good D line. So I mean, I don't know what's going on over there. And Staley's supposed to be that defensive-minded coach. He came from the number 1 ranked defense last year in the Rams. So I don't know, but they got to put it together and they got to do it fast. I just can't see them making the playoffs at this current pace where they can either lay a stinker or play like the best team in football one week. It's just I'm done.
Even if they make it,
I'm done. I'm out on the Chargers.
Let's move on from them. Crosstown, same stadium, but only team that plays in the stadium with fans. And we move to the Rams, who Rams are all in. I'm all out on the Rams.
Yeah, they suck.
I'm out.
I mean, they cannot compete with the top of the NFC at all. Stafford's not great. I mean, this is like he's got all the finesse, he's got all the flash. He turns the ball over at bad times. He opens the game now with turnovers. It's like clockwork. 9-70 against winning teams in his career. That's incredibly concerning. I could not believe that that was almost that. Guy's been in the league for 13 years. He's been one of the, touted as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now I don't know if he really has been, because he's always been that, stat sheet guy, I guess, in Detroit. But you have 9 wins in 13 years against teams with a winning record. I mean, the Jets have 2 this year.
Yeah.
Mike White has 1. Zach Wilson has 1 already.
Stafford played at Lambeau his whole career, and it looked like he was out there for the first time yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Or Sunday. He looked terrible.
Yeah, he looks nervous.
So the Rams went 20 for 68 on the ground against the Packers. Testament to the Packers, and, shame on the Rams for never establishing a ground game. It was too late, though, if they ever wanted to, because they were out of this game from the start. They were out of this game. His stat sheet, you'll see that they had one of the best passing games of the year. They did not. They were playing catch up all day. Odell, Cup, everyone had good, receptions, yards. Van Jefferson, they racked up a few passing touchdowns, but this was a really, really bad game. And look at the playoff picture in the NFC. San Francisco's 1 game back. They're the 60. They're 1 game back. This is not. Like, the Rams are definitely getting into the playoffs.
And they will play. And the Rams will play the Cardinals again.
And they've already gotten dismantled by San Fran on that Monday night game.
Yep.
They got to play the Cardinals again. The Cardinals destroyed them. So you have no draft capital. You have no cap space. You're going all in this year, and I don't know if you're going to make the playoffs at this rate. Because the 7 seed's pretty open for the Rams because, there isn't – the Vikings are in it with 5 and 6. But I don't – you cannot take your foot off the gas right now. They've had a terrible last 5 weeks. Stafford does not look good. The offense does not look good. It's the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. And you guys will definitely have something to say about this, so I'll pass it over to you.
Go ahead, JD.
Oh, last note, too. I'm sorry. Rodgers at home, this is unstoppable right now. The Reds defense got exposed on Sunday. That was
Rodgers went
bad.
7.
We knew.
Rodgers went 7-7 targeting Jalen Ramsey. 7-7 targeting.
They went at him
Ramsey.
the whole day.
Went right at him. I mean, the way they just manipulated the Rams defense. I mean, they played terrible. We didn't even touch on them because what's noticeable is how bad the offense is. Even though on the stat sheet it'll say they had a good game, they didn't. I don't know. if there's anyone really who thinks this Rams team can beat the Cardinals, Packers, Buccaneers, and they'll probably have to play Dallas in round 1. So maybe they squeak by Dallas because Dallas has questions too. We got questions about them. But I'm out on the Rams. I'm out on the Rams. I don't think they can beat any of the top tier teams in the NFC. And congrats to them. Well, they're making all these big moves. There's Madden moves, losing draft capital, saying fuck them picks. There's other teams out there making good signings like Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell. The Cardinals, I'm sure they added some good pieces in there. I'm not too familiar with who they added in the offseason. And the Bucs, we know are the Bucs. The Rams just went completely overboard, completely all in on a team that's probably not even top 3 in their. Well, we know they're not top 3 in their conference.
No. They might not even be top 3 in the division right now.
And they're not top 10 in my power rankings today, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I'm out on them.
You guys pretty much said everything I wanted to say, but I do feel like losing Robert Woods was a lot bigger than it seemed.
OBJ can't replace him in this offense.
OBJ can't replace him. Stafford threw to him a lot. Goff threw to him a lot. He was the safety blanket. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on this show before. But losing Robert Woods, I think, might have ended the Rams season, especially if they don't start picking up their shit right now, because it's not the time.
You're right, Woods is a substantial loss for them, no matter who you plug in there, because he fit the offense. There's something to that, scheme fit over talent and raw skill, and it's a huge loss for them, but I don't even think this team was going anywhere anyways. They look so bad. Cam Akers, huge loss for them, too, this whole year, but Henderson's not much worse. I mean, they don't have excuses for why they're losing. And
everyone was ready to crown them after the Von Miller deal. Yeah. In the NFL, we just got to pump the brakes.
This is on Stafford. This is on McVay. I don't even know. Is it on McVay? I'd have to watch the film to see. Is his play calling going wrong? Is Raheem Morris's defense terrible? I have no idea. I don't think they are. But
okay, sorry to interrupt. Mike Glennon to start for the G-Men on Sunday.
What? Jesus. Daniel Jones suffered a neck strain.
So I guess we could lock in Miami.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways. But
yeah, the Giants don't win 2 games in a row.
I just saw that. Had to say.
Was that worthy of breaking news?
There wasn't. Hey, it could be. It could be for our picks on Thursday. That's it, though.
But either way, Rams stock is down.
See ya.
Stock's falling. I'm out on the Rams. They stink.
Done.
This stock is so far down. They suck.
They suck. Everyone was ready to crown him after
McVay's
Von Miller.
The Jets' offensive coordinator next year at this rate. But we can move on.
Right.
Stick to the NFC. Another unexpected fall right now. Reese, what do you got?
Yeah. So speaking of missing the playoffs, we have the Dallas Cowboys for my bad this week. I want to honorably mention the Raiders because there were 28 flags in this game. It was a headache to watch. I mean, just think about it. I don't know how you can't blame the refs for most of this. Seeing those penalties, there were some unnecessary pass interference calls, one in overtime that lost the Cowboys the game. That can't happen. But, I mean, 28 flags. That is just horrible. And from the Raiders, you kind of expect this. You've seen what's gone on in their locker room. They lost their head coach. They lost their wide receiver. They lost their first-round wide receiver and first-round cornerback. It's just been a disaster. So you would expect the Raiders to be a little like, out of it, a little, what's the word?
A little, like, disoriented.
Yeah, like, undisciplined. I was looking for discipline. And as the Cowboys, you have to be a more disciplined football team. You're a talented team on both sides of the ball. And I feel like the offense and defense just picks and chooses when to show up. And right now is not a time for one side of the ball to go cold. And I feel like that's what's going on with the Cowboys. They couldn't score on Denver. They couldn't stop the Raiders. And Mike McCarthy, his clock management, his coaching has just not been there, and I'm getting concerned that the Cowboys might give up this division lead to the Eagles. I think they'll still make the playoffs just because of their record, but it's going to be tight, and it's getting scary for the Cowboys.
It's more of the Cowboys are probably fine because they're probably going to win a few games down the stretch against their division, but you're right. The football team and Eagles are right there. They're only like 2 games back, but the Cowboys, I mean, first I'll just say, to the referees, Sean Hockley's crew is terrible. They're always trying to make the game about themselves.
They blow more whistles than anyone in the league.
We're not here to watch you. We're here to watch a football game. We're not here to see the refs control the football game. And while some of them may have been on the board or could have been pass interference, there's some you call Like, referees, it's common knowledge to know not to call down the stretch because you're not trying to decide a game
And that wasn't
off
even
of pass interference. That was very iffy.
But the thing with the NFL refs is they'll call that, but NFC Championship Rams Saints they won't call that.
I know.
So
and
it's
they
like
missed that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pick and choose.
it's terrible in
ridiculous.
crunch time and big games. That's a big game. It's a great Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, most
Teams are
watched
playing
game
it
of the
like
season.
Teams are playing it like a playoff game. Those two teams played as hard as they could.
Yeah, the
And-
Raiders need that one.
But to go back to Dallas, they got to sit Zeke for a week or two with this knee thing. You got to give him some time to rest. Pollard
Yeah.
might be better. I don't think you're losing.
They don't know
Pollard's
what to do.
fine.
They don't know what to do with
Pollard
Zeke.
is fine.
You got to sit Zeke for a week or two, or you can only give him the goal line carries for the next few weeks, or short yardage in general. But I think that the Cowboys are going to be fine. I'd be more concerned if the Eagles won on Sunday against the Giants, but
Yeah.
that was a huge loss for the Eagles this Sunday. Cowboys are in pretty good shape for the division, but once again, I think we're finding out that this is another team with the Rams that can't compete with the Cardinals, Packers, and Bucs.
Yep.
So a few
Separating
weeks
them.
ago, we had
Yeah.
been in any of those 5 teams could win. Now it's looking like it's cutting down to 3. But the Cowboys
To
have the
3.
talent on the offense and the playmakers on the defense. The defense as a whole isn't really there, but they have a few playmakers. Oh, Trevon Diggs sucks too. I mean, this is not.
He gets hosed.
This
every
is a-
play.
He gets every
he's
week.
very
He's a free
aggressive. He
safety.
makes-
He's a
Gashed.
free safety
He
playing
makes-
press.
He's
man
very
every
aggressive.
now.
He makes some great plays on the ball, but with that, he's also getting burnt every game too.
He's a ball hawk, free
Yep.
safety. He should not. I think he's a great ball hawk. He's great at tricking the QB But you can't do that in man press every play. That's what Dan Quinn's running, man press. They're not running a ton of zone. Then when he is running zone, he's in deep flats, and he gets exposed on him. He's not that good against number 1 receivers. I said a few weeks ago, for every interception he gets, he seems to give up 2, and that's you can take that how you want it. Some people will take the turnover. I'm not, but they got to start showing up both sides of the ball. Too inconsistent.
Yep.
So we got a pretty good
All right.
segue into the next one for just to keep on
Yeah,
that
because we were
NFC
just
East
talking
track.
talking about one of these teams. They were my good last week, which seems to be like I feel like I've done this 2 weeks in a row now. The team I picked for the good ends up in the ugly
Yeah, it's
next week.
always
So
tough. That's a
maybe
bad
New
slide.
England next week ugly. We'll see because I picked them as good. But
Hey,
I got the Eagles as my
Oh no,
ugly.
that means the Eagles are going to be in the good next week against the Jets.
Maybe.
that's
yeah.
a lock anyway. We knew that
Because
was
we don't know
happening.
what's going on with this team. Last week they were good. I said they were going to make the playoffs because of their schedule coming up, and then they lay an egg versus the Giants, and they're not going to make the playoffs. Simple fact is they're not going to make the playoffs with Jalen Hurts playing like that. The only time he looks like a competent quarterback is when he's running it, and that's not good because he's dropping back 31 times. He threw 3 picks. He was less than 50% completion. His passer rating was 17.5. He's fumbling away free points with turnovers before the half. You got to have versus the Giants because the Giants weren't scoring either. The Eagles' defense is playing great, and they got to stop dropping Hurts back 31 times a game. And Miles Sanders had 9 carries for 64 yards. That's 7.1 yards per rush. That's not enough touches for a guy who's running at that high a clip against a Giants defense that you can run the ball against. So stop dropping Jalen back. Defense looks fine. Slay's playing great. I'd say this loss had set him on a path to being dead, but I'm just done predicting who's going to be the 5, 6, and 7 seed in the wild card. Because we think one's going to be the Rams, but now they're falling, and the Niners look good, but next week the Niners can look bad. So at this rate, we said the Vikings, we said the Eagles. I'm just done picking who's going to be in this NFC wildcard because it's a whole shit show down there. I don't know. 1 week, one team's good, and now Washington's in. How did Washington get into the playoff picture?
Yeah, they're coming.
How did
Are
Washington?
they the
good.
7 now? Or no, they're just in the hunt.
They're the 7 at
So
5
they
and
jumped
6.
Minnesota.
Eagles,
Yes, okay. Because I had
Eagles
said
are a half
Minnesota
game
before,
back.
so I correct myself for.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that San Fran definitely seems to be figuring it out. But the Eagles, man, last week it was Hurts was the guy. You could use your
I
3
know.
picks for Hurts. You don't have to trade it for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. Now this week,
I feel like this week was a Hurts.
this
ugly.
week is a Hurts ugly, man.
Just a Hurts.
You could have picked JD.
Like,
You
I-
could have picked the Eagles. I could have picked Hurts for my ugly. You could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
the rest of the Eagles team.
the
played
Eagles
fine.
team actually
The
quite
defense
played
is
good.
really
So, yeah.
May I say, Jalen Rieger sucks,
Yes.
though.
Jalen Reagor.
Wow, he is bad.
After all that, if he just comes down with that ball at the end of the game, they win.
It's over.
Yeah.
They win.
Over. I mean, you needed to score 2 touchdowns to beat the Giants. 2
They
touchdowns.
fumbled away points, and not even they. Jalen Hurts fumbled away so many points.
Bad throws too. Just an ugly.
Terrible.
Like, I don't even know how to grade like Nick Sirianni because it seems like they should have won this game, and with a competent quarterback, they probably do.
With no turnovers,
not even
they win the game.
confident.
If you don't even throw it, you probably win the game.
Yeah.
If you just hand it off every play or throw
Yeah,
screens every
you
play.
you gotta run the ball. You gotta run the football. And the Eagles, that's when they were at their best. The last 2 weeks, they were running the ball with Miles Sanders. They were running the ball with Jalen Hurts. They weren't dropping him back 35 times a game.
Yeah.
They were doing it on the ground, and that's how their offense is because they're one of the best rushing attacks in football. So they got to keep with that. They gave Boston Scott like 15 carries. I don't know why. Maybe Sanders is still healing his injury, but the Eagles. So 1 week, I think they're going to make the playoffs, and next week they're completely dead. That's just how it's been in the NFC.
Yeah.
And we'll see with the 49ers.
They got a really easy schedule the rest of the
Yeah.
way, but either way, I'm pretty much out on Philly. They're just way too inconsistent for me. They don't have the pieces on offense for me to, get confident in them. I think that, everyone's like, oh, the Eagles are playing really bad teams the next 5 games. They can't beat Washington right now.
It doesn't matter.
They can't play.
Nope. Yeah.
Heineke's pretty solid, too. We'll talk about that on Saturday, probably.
We were talking about
Saturday,
that.
and we'll talk about Thursday, too.
Yeah.
But I'm out on the Eagles. I've not been a fan of Nick Sirianni. Too early to tell. It's the same situation if they had a rookie quarterback. I'm not out on Hurts either. I'm not out on any of these guys. But when you have a talented running back in Miles Sanders, and I'm not sure if he's injured or not, like JD said, they haven't said anything about that about this particular game. We know he's coming off an injury, but I got to see Miles Sanders getting the ball more. It was the same issue last year. Or is Miles Sanders just not that good? I don't think that's the case. But
No.
when they let him run, they have really good games. They play really good when they let him run. But either way, same old Eagles. They won a Super Bowl once, fluke, flash in the pan, Foles. That's over.
They're pretty dead.
So
Yeah,
I can
they're-
piggyback off my bad from last week. My bad from last week was the Browns. They moved down to the ugly this week.
They're just horrible.
What an awful game Sunday night was. My God.
I had barely watched this. I'm going to be honest. I'm
Yeah,
going
it
to be
was
straight
rough.
honest. I barely watched this game.
I mean, that game.
I don't even
Yeah, I
really
watched
know what
half.
happened.
That's a classic
Besides that Mark
background.
Andrews catch.
That's a classic background game.
Yeah.
It's Monday night.
While
I got
doing
homework
homework.
to do. Exactly. It's that exact thing. But the Browns lose 16-10 to Baltimore in that huge division game. They moved to 6-6. Possibly just knocked them out of the AFC playoff picture after an offseason and an encouraging playoff run last year that you kind of said, hey, this team could win a Super Bowl this year. They are 6-6. They've scored 23 points in the last 2 games. Baker Mayfield.
It's a Jets
Baker
stat.
Mayfield can't even. I think he's
so-
definitely hurt and
He's
average
so hurt.
to begin with.
He's so hurt.
He's hurt and average to begin with, and that's not good. Stefanski's got to give him the seat and put Keenum in. This is really. I mean, Mayfield, and he's obviously hurt, and they're just letting him throw. He was 18 for 37. Why is he throwing if he's 18 for 37 with an injury? 247 yards, 1 touchdown. The offense turned the ball over twice. But the defense got 4 turnovers against the Ravens, gave up 16 points, and they lost the game. Well, I can't even imagine. Teams are 1-53 this year when turning the ball over 4 times. Ravens have the only win, and it was Sunday night.
Jesus.
And on the ground this week, they got Hunt back. They had Chubb. I know they're both a little bit banged up. Well, Chubb's coming off COVID, but he got a little banged up in the game. They've both been a little banged up the whole year. And you have Dearness Johnson's your running back 3. So you have 3 pretty damn good running backs. Probably the best running back room in football. You were 17 for 40 on the ground in a game that you gave up 16 points and you lost 16-10. This was disgusting. The defense is what I thought it would be. The defense gets turnovers. They got really good D-backs. Greg Newsome was maybe my second favorite corner in the draft behind Surtain, and he is showing it. He is really, really good. Denzel Ward's really good. Myles Garrett's the best player in football. And this offense sucks. I mean, they are really bad. Stefanski's an offensive guy, and the offense was good last year. They ran for like 180 yards a game last year. Whenever they wanted to, Chubb would run for 100, Hunt would run for 80, Hunt would receive for 40. And they have not done any of that this year.
Yeah, I think the Browns should have had more points off turnovers that game than they did in the entire game.
Yeah.
You have to put up at least 2 touchdowns in 4 separate drives. On Lamar's 4 picks, if you're playing the Ravens and Lamar's throwing 4 interceptions, you need to win, especially in this case. It's a huge division game, huge game for the playoffs. there's something wrong with Baker. They got to get him out before he ruins their entire season. And I don't even know if it's his fault. Obviously, he wants to play. But at one point, do you say, listen, you're going to end your career? Like, how long is he going to beat up on this shoulder? And how long is it going to bother him? Because if he's not letting it heal, it's going to be a problem in the future coming off. And it's a contract year.
I'm not trying to get into, like, conspiracy
he's already
theories
screwed himself.
right now. But
he screwed himself.
I'm not trying to go crazy with, like, some deep down the rabbit hole theory about Baker Mayfield and the coaching staff. But Mayfield didn't get drafted by these coaches or this front office group. They hired new guys because John Dorsey drafted him with Hugh Jackson. John Dorsey drafted him with Hugh Jackson. I could see. I'm not trying to say this is what's happening. I've heard nothing about this. I wouldn't be surprised if they're putting him out there as a sacrificial lamb and a total scapegoat to saying why Stefanski's saying I need to draft the quarterback in this year's draft, or why I need to go trade for Russell Wilson this offseason. This is not something that I'm gonna ignore. That these guys didn't draft him. This is not their guy. We've all seen that.
Yeah,
he did the same thing with Goff. He won a ton of games with Goff, and he just dealt him. The second he could, he gave up the house to get rid of him. So,
and you make a good point. If they were planning on signing Baker and keeping him long term, wouldn't you want to sit him and make sure he's healthy?
You'd want to sit him, and you certainly would have given him that fifth-year option.
That's a good point.
In the offseason.
Yeah.
I've never seen a franchise quarterback not get their fifth-year option.
That's a good point.
And
I think he's gone
If they didn't
now.
get their fifth-year option, you always extend them. So, like, Wentz, they didn't give him a fifth year, but they gave him his extension in his second year, so you're not going to give him a fifth year.
Yeah, it seems like the way this is trending, it seems to be Baker Mayfield exiting Cleveland, but I won't rule out a return because it does seem like that they are kind of pressured to, if they don't sign Baker, then they gotta hit on whoever they do next because Cleveland had that long drought of quarterbacks. So you don't want to go down that rabbit hole again and have to keep drafting quarterbacks and signing guys. But it does feel like right now the team's spiraling out of control. First, it was Odell's dad who was ripping Baker. Then it was the fans who were ripping Baker. And then it's Kareem Hunt's dad who's ripping Baker, saying he can't make a throw, he's too hurt. And he's probably right. It seems like a healthy Case Keenum right now is better than what they're throwing out there in Baker Mayfield. And the Browns are not a team I want to watch. They're just ugly. Their games are ugly, and they're in the playoff picture. We'll see if they make it. It seems like everybody's in the playoff picture. Everyone really has a chance. So as long as you turn it on when it matters most, you can get in. But it doesn't look like that's the way it's going.
Yeah. I think that there's a historic trade market for quarterbacks that's already being laid out last offseason. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, just to name three. Guys are going to get moved around at the quarterback position like we've never seen. And I think maybe...
And Russell Wilson, too.
Did I not say Russell Wilson?
You did.
Oh, good. I thought I might have forgotten. But either way, guys are going to get moved around this offseason. And teams are really going to try to capitalize with unproven guys. Like a team... I don't think that they're going to at all. But a team like the Jets with multiple first-round picks, a team like the Giants with multiple first-round picks, the Giants definitely could, that have guys they're not certain with, and they're getting impatient, franchises that have been bad for a decade. Cleveland has 1 year of real good football, and it's last year. But was Mayfield a part of that, or was Stefanski with this great run game the reason for that? So I think that we're going to see a lot of movement from quarterbacks in the offseason. I think the Browns could certainly be one of the teams that tries to jump in because we know that they have tried to make trades for quarterbacks before. They tried to trade for Russell Wilson at the draft when they took Baker Mayfield. This is not something that I put past Cleveland if they think they're a quarterback away to move Mayfield and picks for one of these guys.
KB, let me just ask you a question, though. For one of the veteran quarterbacks like Wilson, like Rodgers, like Watson, I know Watson doesn't really control where he goes, but I know the Packers, I think, out of good faith, said that they would agree to trade Rodgers wherever he wanted to go. And it seems like the Seahawks would do the same thing after all Russell Wilson's done. Do you see, it doesn't seem like Cleveland's a place where these guys would want to live and play football. I know Rodgers is that cold weather guy, but do you think he really wants to go to Cleveland?
So
I don't know.
This is the thing I think with that, and that's an awesome point to bring up. they could do if anyone trades and says, "Hey Russ, you're going to be making $42 million a year if you waive your no trade clause to come here, and we're going to extend you, add 2 years to your contract." Then it works out. I don't know the cap situations with that, but Rodgers I think is definitely a no for Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think he's been pretty clear about. I think there's like a Denver and Las Vegas fantasy almost there for Rodgers.
Even like a 49ers.
Even San Fran, Vegas, Denver, because I think he lives in Denver. Rodgers is a tough case. Rodgers is not a guy that I think is going to get moved to Cleveland or to any team that doesn't make the playoffs this year, except for if the Raiders or Broncos don't make it. The Raiders or Broncos are clearly quarterback away type of situation. But like a team like Cleveland where they're in an in-between with their quarterback, first of all, you have to go all in for Rodgers, and you have to add money to his contract for him to waive his no trade clause. Because as much as I love watching Rodgers, we all know he's a pain in the ass, as he's going to demand more. He's going to make a desperate team give him what he wants, and he's going to have control. A team like Cleveland, maybe Russell Wilson, but it's tough. It's a really tough situation, but the quarterbacks in the draft are deep this year. They're not top-heavy. So I think that another option is just if you're a team picking from 14 to 30, one of the guys you want is going to be there. It's not like you have to be in the top 14 this year. That might change in 3 months from now. But, JD, that's a great point, actually, that the veteran quarterbacks do have no trade clauses, and they might not want to go there.
Yeah, and this offseason is going to be – I feel like this offseason is going to be fantastic. Obviously, I want Rodgers to stay. He's my guy. He's my quarterback. But the news around all the quarterback movement, if whether he goes or not, is going to be crazy because you don't see guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson up for grabs.
No, never. But it's a lot of interesting stuff. We'll talk about that. That's what our Saturday show is going to be for, is to cover off-season potential and just talk about everything and anything we want.
Draft.
Just a relaxed type of thing. But we could shift.
Speaking of
AFC North here. So, it's absolutely the ugliest performance I've ever seen.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that need a quarterback, the Steelers are my bad this week. Big Ben is a bona fide scrub. He is horrible.
He's so bad.
He's got to go. He had 265 yards and 2 picks and a garbage time touchdown to that kid is a stud, though. I don't know how to say his last name. Something with an F, the tight end. Freiermuth, yeah, whatever. He's really been good. But besides that, the Steelers are god-awful. They got Minka back. He was making plays. The Steelers' offense is abysmal. They are doing nothing. It's really embarrassing. And despite the horrible Steelers offense, the Steelers' defense might have been worse. Yeah. Mixon ran for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Every time you look over, Mixon was just running the ball down these guys' throats. The Bengals looked very good. They dominated the Steelers, but if you were watching this game, you knew it was over after the first play. There was something about that game. You just knew the Bengals were they came to play. They showed up. Burrow's 3-1 against the Steelers in his career. You could feel the tides turning with these teams a little bit, but you got to give it another year. Wait till the Steelers actually get a quarterback who can throw the ball more than 5 yards, and we can judge them from there. But the Steelers look really, really bad right now on offense.
Yeah, the Steelers are if the Steelers continue to throw Big Ben out there next year, which they won't. This is Big Ben's last year. It has to be.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's 100 years old playing quarterback out there. He looks sore every time he makes a pass. He thinks he can play as long as Brady, but Brady's throwing $1 million at his body every year, and Big Ben's eating cheeseburgers and sitting on the couch with that long beard during quarantine. Dude, this guy, it's his last year. The Steelers fans love Big Ben, and they know it's time to move on because this guy's been a part of their franchise for 15-plus years. But the Steelers still have a good roster, so if they get a quarterback in the offseason, it seems like the Bengals-Steelers rivalry would still be there because Tomlin is still a great head coach.
Tomlin's really been keeping them alive right now.
Yeah, Tomlin's great.
Quarterback. If they have like we just talked about, if they have Rodgers on this team, the Steelers are a contender in the AFC. That seems like a match made in heaven.
Deontay Johnson is
that. Rodgers to Pittsburgh seems like a match made in heaven at the end of this year. It just seems like Rodgers loves Tomlin, and it just seems like such a Pittsburgh Steelers move. But to get back to this game, it was terrible. It was ugly, and the Bengals had one of those weeks where they came out and played their best, and they're another one of those teams that one week will play their best, and next week they could be the ugly. It's just how it is in the NFL. It's how those inconsistent teams are. There's really been only 3, 4, 5 teams all year who have been really just always in games, always playing good. The Bengals aren't one of them. The Steelers aren't one of them. It just happened to be the Steelers' worst week and the Bengals' best week.
Yeah, once I start seeing quarterbacks throwing interceptions and mainly pick sixes to the flats, I say it's time to hang it up because
Dude, that was
this
bad.
is something you learn
Yeah, it was
that
bad.
in the NFL. Really, this is like a Pop Warner PAL type of concept. You don't throw it to the flats when there's any sort of coverage there. And then you're regressing mentally now with your reads. His reads are regressing. His body is totally regressed. He's so shot.
Yeah,
His body's been telling him to quit for 5 years.
The Steelers' roster is very bad. The playmakers on offense, aside from Najee Harris, are really not that good. Freiermuth is really solid for a rookie tight end. Good all-purpose tight end, blocks, runs good routes. So really solid player there. So this past draft, they hit, those are the first 2 picks. But
I think Deontay Johnson's a good,
Deontay
real
Johnson's
good wide
good,
receiver.
but
too.
I feel like
He's
I look
very
at him.
good.
Yeah,
I
JD,
like him a
wide
lot.
receiver too. That's how I look at him. Claypool's not as great
I don't like Claypool.
as I thought he was going to be. I thought Claypool was going to be due for like a 10, 11 touchdown year this year.
It's the TikToks.
He's really not that good.
The dance
he's,
on the logo.
He's an athletic freak. I remember wanting him out of Notre Dame for the Jets and thinking he was a great player. He is not as great as I expected for this year. Maybe they need a quarterback to give him the ball more. I think they could design a couple more plays for him because of how good his athleticism is. But, man, he is not that great. Really, really ugly game for Pittsburgh this week. Coming off of what we were all on Pittsburgh this week, I believe.
Yeah, because of what they showed versus the Chargers.
What they showed
like
versus the Chargers was awesome.
Little prowess.
Their
offense.
Big Ben was hitting on quick passes, quick hitters. I mean, he was a great second half of play and a good first half on Sunday night last week. But, my God, he was...
That Pittsburgh cold can't be good for his joints. Dude.
No.
That really might be what it is.
He's got all that. He's got a couple
Cold.
extra layers there, so it's probably not affecting him that
Yeah.
much. But, Pittsburgh might squeak into the 7 seed still just because of how good Tomlin is at coaching. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
But...
If they
And also,
do,
for all the people
they'll
that
lose.
say Tomlin has to get fired, because I do see that, the Steelers had 4 coaches in 58.
No.
What is this? 57th year of the Super Bowl era.
Dude,
They've had 4
Mike
coaches.
Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in 16 years, dude.
They've had 4 coaches
Come
in
on.
the Super Bowl era. Their first 3 years, they had their coach that I'll never remember his name because he's irrelevant to me. And they fired him in 1968. Hired Chuck Noll. He coached until the 90s. Then they hired Bill Cowher, and Cowher went until Cowher didn't want to go anymore. And then they hire Mike Tomlin, and he's going to go until he doesn't want to go anymore.
Yep.
He's not coaching college. They're not firing him. He hasn't had a losing season yet, and you want to get rid of the guy?
It's absurd.
Come on.
Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in football. He's been for a long time, and the
Yeah,
Steelers
he's
just
one
know
of the
how to
best
do
ever.
it. They haven't gotten to the big game since they played the Packers, just like the Packers haven't gotten there 10, 11 years ago. So it's been a while, but every year they're a winning team.
Every year.
The Steelers are one of the most storied, respected, winning franchises in football.
Got to get a couple better players on this roster. I know they're tied up with some bad contracts, especially in aging
but once
linemen
Big Ben retires.
But they'll get a huge boost if Big Ben retires this offseason, and they don't have to take on the last year of his contract. So they hope for that. They look really big. Big Ben's the ugly. I mean, let's be real. Big Ben and the offense are the ugly. Because,
Another one.
Defense, too.
Because...
Yeah, no, the defense this week.
But the defenses, they were bad. But
season-wise, Big Ben's
the defense is bad, but they're at that point where they're on the field the whole game still. They don't establish...
True.
You got 7 guys in the box against Pittsburgh now, making sure Najee doesn't break loose, doesn't break free. You got two men covering him, one over the middle, and you got one following him to the flats every play. They're not giving Najee an inch with defenses, and he still plays good. And the Big Ben can't keep sustained drives, so the defense is on the field a lot. Defense is old, too. They're aging. T.J. Watt's awesome, but did he play on Sunday? I think he was still out.
I think he did play. I think he did
Okay.
play. I mean, he was a non-factor.
So he was a non-factor, but other than him and Minka, I mean, it's pretty old defense. A lot of guys that have been there for a while, and Devin Bush, too. But Steelers very ugly season, very ugly Sunday.
Yep.
All right, we can move on to power rankings now. I think a lot of changes coming in this week.
Yes.
I know I feel a little bit like I'm doing this wrong because of the amount of shifts that are
Me too.
going on. I want to try to keep it a little bit consistent, but it's just not possible. So much movement going on. Teams dropping, 4, 5, 6 spots every time we do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My top 5 has stayed relatively. It's the same top 5 as last week. There's a little change, but outside of that, after like the 6, 7 spot, like it's really just totally up for grabs. Like you do what you want now with the Rams, Titans, Colts. We all had the Colts last week. I'm interested to see if you guys drop them out. 49ers, Bengals, like it could all get like a little different down in the 8, 9, 10 range.
JD, all yours to get us started with the power rankings.
All right. At 10, I'm going to have a new team joining the top 10. I have 2 new teams this week. At 10, there's the 49ers. I love the way the Niners are trending. I think they're kind of starting to fire on all cylinders. Hopefully, Deebo Samuel can come back because he's kind of what the engine of their offense is. I know he's hurt. We'll see. I think it was it a groin? I don't remember what the Deebo injury was. I think it might have been a groin.
Yeah, it was a groin.
So they need him. But for now at 10, at 9 I like the Colts. I'm going to move them up a spot, not because of the results of the game doesn't matter to me. I watched the game Sunday, and I said the Colts are a good football team. They can contend in the AFC. So I kept them in my top 10. I think they deserve to be there. At 8, I'm going to move into the top 10 the Bengals, just because how good they played. I think the Bengals are a good team. Inconsistent, like a lot of the teams in the NFL, I think they're a good one. I think at 8, it's a good spot for them. At 7, I've got the Bills off their win versus Saints. The Ravens at 6, off their win versus the Browns Sunday Night Football. They're the 1 seed in the AFC. At 5, I've got the Chiefs. They had their bye last week. They'll stay at 5 for me. At 4, the Pats will stay at 4. Didn't show me anything different. I know they're a good football team. They took care of the Titans like they should. The Bucs are going to stay at number 3. We know the Bucs. I think they're a top 3 team in football. Cardinals 2, Packers 1. I'm sold on the Packers after that game. I know I was worried about the offensive line holding up without Elton Jenkins, but this team's getting Jair back, Za'Darius back. Who else? Bakhtiari back. They're getting 3 All-Pros.
What's Rashawn Gary's status?
Rashawn played Sunday.
He played Sunday? Okay.
Yeah, that's
I did see him out there.
Stafford. Yeah. He was good. So they're getting healthy. They've got their bye week, and I think the Packers are the best team in football, but could definitely see if you still have the Cardinals because they were also on the bye week.
Yeah. I just want to talk about the teams that didn't make it in for this week for me. Bengals are right there. I like the way that they're seeming to get back in the right direction where they were prior to that Jets loss. And the Rams fell right out of it. I think the Rams are as talented as any of the teams on this list, but my God, I was thinking about putting them in that 8-9 spot. But
they're making it hard.
But I'm going off of
they are.
If they're playing this week, who am I taking? And that's how I'm making the top 10 this week and almost every week, really. But I get started. Also, another team that fell out, took a huge fall for me, is the Titans. Because
Titans are out for me.
Titans are out for you too, JD. I don't know, Reese, how yours will look. We'll see in a second. But they're missing way too many guys right now. They're starting to fall. Tannehill's not that good, and the defense is not great either, so they fell out. But I'll start, JD, same 10 as you, 49ers, to get it started. They're starting to show. Shanahan's figuring it out. He's putting it together. The whole team just seems to be playing in harmony right now. So they look good. Buffalo's my 9. They weren't in it last week for any of us, coming off of a bad couple weeks, but they showed out on Thanksgiving night against the banged up Saints team. They earned their spot, their way back in at number 9. And then I have the Colts at 8. They move up 2 spots for me with a loss to Tampa Bay. An encouraging loss, though. Ravens are my 7. Cowboys at 6. Patriots at 5. Chiefs at 4. They don't go anywhere because of their bye week. And then I have a little bit of a shake-up in the top 3 for me. Cardinals are my 3. Bucs have jumped into the 2 for me. I think the Bucs are really going to start running things in the NFC right now. And the Packers are my undisputed 1. I think at the moment, if the Packers are playing anywhere, they can't get touched, but especially if they're at Lambeau Field, I don't think you can come within 7-8 points of this team at Lambeau Field right now.
Yeah, I just want to say before you go, Reese, sorry. Cowboys. I was surprised Cowboys were that high because we've been harsh on the Rams, we've been harsh on the Titans.
Cowboys.
I still think the Cowboys
are a little different for me than the Rams. Rams, Woods is out for the year, so this was a tough choice for me to even put them in the top at number 6, let alone on the list at all. I just think that their injuries are a Zeke knee injury that he's been playing through, but you can sit him for a week and heal it. CD had a concussion. I don't know what their COVID situation is for Thursday. So let me say that.
Yeah.
But
I think they said, while we're on it, I think Mike McCarthy said Amari Cooper can come back if he's asymptomatic, but I think they still said he's got the cough. He's got a cough, so I don't think he's going to play, honestly, Thursday.
Yeah, Dan Quinn will be coaching for them on Thursday.
Oh, geez.
So they'll be up, 10, 11 points in the fourth quarter and lose. But I think that Dallas has a lot of short-term issues right now. And I don't see them having the long-term effects of the Rams, having the long-term effects of, a team like the Titans without Henry. I think when Dallas is all healthy, they click as well as any team in the NFC. And they don't have any of those injuries where it's like, is CD going to come back this year? Is Amari going to come back this year? Are they going to come back this week? Each week. So I think once the Cowboys get healthy, they still compete with those top teams, especially when they're at home. They struggle a bit on the road, I think, with a team like Green Bay, definitely like Green Bay, but a team like Tampa Bay. We saw in week 1 they almost beat them, but that's a week 1 game. So, but yeah, that's the Cowboys are a team that I think I could see anywhere from 5-6 to 13-14, based on how you look at them.
Yeah. So speaking of the Cowboys, at number 10, that's who I have. I'm going to go with the Cowboys at 10. At 9, I have the Colts. I liked what they did against the Bucs. They were up 24-14 and a half. They look good. Number 8 for me, I put them a little bit high up, but I love the Niners right now. The way Shanahan's dominating the defense that he's playing, Debo looks really good, but he's gonna be hurt. Ayuk has looked great.
Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell's looked great. Jimmy G is slinging it. I really like the Niners. At 7, I'm going to go with the Bills. Bills played really well against the Saints. Their defense looked really good. At 6, I'm going to have the Chiefs. At 5, I'm going to have the Ravens. At 4, I am going to have the Patriots. I love the Pats right now. I think they could even go for 3. I'd love to see Pats Cards. I really could see the Pats pulling that game out. At 3, I have the Bucs. At 2, I have the Cardinals. And at number 1, I'm going to take the Pack. It's the first week I've had the Pack as my number 1, but I mean I saw what I needed to see.
Me and KB were on that train.
Yeah, come on, Reese.
We
jumped
jumped ship for a week, but I'm not letting that Vikings game fool me.
I think that the Cards are definitely right there, and I'm the only guy that didn't put them at 2 today because I think the Bucs are just a little the experience thing.
Yeah.
Goes a long way with me.
With you, KB.
The experience goes a long way for me. So they got a team of veteran coaching staff to begin with. Forget the ring even last year, but then they have a coaching staff with a ring. They got the most experienced player in the history of the game in Tom Brady, and they have a whole team that's been there. The entire team has been there. Oh, and also to talk about the Bucs, I forgot to talk about it in the good. Things are going good when Pierre Desir is playing a good game for you because my God, he was the worst player on the planet last year.
Yeah,
he'd go in and we would celebrate because he was the ticket to Trevor Lawrence last year, was Pierre Desir. Team's game plan for Pierre Desir, and they were like, wow, if he's covering you well, we're still going to throw it to you because he's not making the play. Caught a pick on Sunday. It's just the magic of taking off the green and white. But either way, I think that this – we'll talk about it a lot Saturday. Saturday's going to be really, really fun. I'm really excited for Saturday. But
me too.
NFC playoff picture, those top 3 teams, and – They're very exciting to begin with because I don't know who wins out of those 3 if they're all playing each other.
It seems like KB. It really seems like we're on a warpath to Packers Bucs again.
It does. It does seem that way.
It's just a matter of who. I'm going to put the Cardinals at 2, and I'm going to give them the respect that they deserve because they've been so consistently good all year. But I really no matter what it is, I think it's Packers Bucs. And, for my sake, hopefully it's in Lambeau. I don't want to go down to Tampa. But it's going to be a scramble the last 5 weeks of the season to try to get that 1 seed.
Yeah, and I think that it's a little different in the NFC this year because last year the bottom seeds, Chicago was the last seed. They never had a chance at winning a game.
No.
They put them on Nickelodeon. I mean,
Nickelodeon.
No one even gave them a serious shot. And The Saints were not the Saints. Drew Brees was clearly injured the whole
Saints,
year.
so-
He couldn't really play last year.
I will say, KB, that playoff game though, I don't remember. I remember it in bits and pieces. That Saints Bucs playoff game. But Jared Cook, I remember that late fumble at the end. It seemed like it really seemed like it was going to be Packers Saints.
Yeah.
Which I was rooting for because I don't want to see Tom Brady in the playoffs ever. If it's Packers Saints, I think we can all agree that the Packers probably beat them in Lambeau, and it goes a lot differently. So you never know in the playoffs. Like anything can happen. It's any given Sunday.
So the point I'm working towards here is last year, it was Packers. I know the Packers were by far the best team in the league last year.
Yeah.
But the other teams in the playoffs was the NFC, the terrible NFC East last year was Washington. The Bears made it. The Jared Goff Rams made it. The Seahawks made it. All teams with weaknesses, and the Bucs ultimately showed that they were the most balanced team. But this year, there's a lot better. There's a very good group of competition in the NFC with Minnesota, with Washington, with San Fran, with Dallas, the Rams. So this is not by any means a cakewalk. This is as tough as a conference gets.
I love the NFL.
Me too.
Drawing up these scenarios down the road where all these teams get in and all these different combinations is awesome.
It's really
honestly
fantastic.
the only team that I would take confidently right now to win a game is the Packers in Lambeau.
Yeah.
Besides that, I have no idea who would win in the playoffs. It's any given Sunday.
I think that's why
it's fucking
we're about to
awesome.
wrap up here, but I think that's why the home field advantage and the 1 seed is so big because you don't have to play a potential spoiler
vital.
in the first game. You don't have to risk your guys getting hurt in the first game because you need them so bad for the next two because you're playing someone that's going to bring it. And this is really shaping up to be one of a very memorable NFL season.
I can't wait.
I'm very excited for it.
We're getting to the end, boys.
We're getting to the end. So
we say this every week.
Quickly.
But I want to say quick. Last week was awesome. This week, just to recap, was a great slate of games. Great playoff matchups. Great implications.
Yes.
This week, looking ahead, really does suck. I don't know if you guys looked at it. The matchups this week are terrible.
It's
awful.
Not a lot of implications, but setting up for a lot of ugly.
Because
which
even
is
last weekend was the rare weekend where every game was good in the respect that I mentioned it in the intro. It was either a huge playoff implication or an absolute toilet bowl between the Jets and the Texans or between the Jags and the Falcons, where it was actually watchable. Because the only games that weren't watchable were primetime. And
I hated the Sunday night game.
Sunday night game was horrendous.
The Monday night game was terrible.
Monday night game was terrible, but it was one of those, these teams suck, and
now
it's
somehow one's in a playoff spot.
And now one's in a playoff spot. So
how is that possible?
I mean, last week was an absolute thrill, but a week like this upcoming week always provides a lot for ugly.
A lot of ugly.
A lot of ugly. So Saturday, definitely want to watch. Probably air it, middle of the afternoon. We'll film it before the college football games, though. Before that day gets started. Really excited. We already have, so far, it's not a very restricted show. So it's not, we have to stick to a format like we do in this. It's not sticking to our notes and pre-planning for it. There's minimal preparation for it. Much more standard. So we'll start it off right out of the gate. MLB free agency, so much to talk about, especially locally, because we're either going to have the Yankees make a splash in the next few hours, or it's going to be the biggest dud. And the Mets have already made about 10 splashes. So we're going to have an awesome opening on Saturday. We're going to have a great slate of college football to talk about as we get into college football. The final month of college football is as good as anything in sports. And we got the bowl games this weekend. Very excited for that. Our conference championships this weekend. So very excited for that. And then we'll, like we said a million times today, talk about all the NFL scenarios that we want to talk about, draft scenarios, a lot of Jets and Giants in that. So that'll definitely help, the local followers of this. And very excited for that. Excited to do it. And Thursday, of course, always the Week 13 picks this week but we're hoping to build off of a very good week of picks this weekend.
We're starting to slowly trend in the right direction with our picks.
Make sure to check out all social media, TikTok, Instagram. TikTok, we're putting up videos all the time now, so you want to go see those. and we'll see post highlights from this. So if you don't have time to watch this whole thing, you want to go to TikTok, you want to watch those videos and watch highlights from that. And that's all I got today, guys.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
good,
it.
good
All right,
episode.
Good
Thanks,
episode,
guys.
fellas.